I stared at them in disbelief. It was like they didn't even care. They were sitting there, laughing, like this was all some kind of joke. Sometimes it takes a little bit for my body to react, but I suddenly felt my throat tightening. You guys know I could die, right? Dude, we're not trying to kill you. Stop being such a baby. My throat was closing up, and I rushed over to my backpack and pulled out my EpiPen and used it. I instantly felt relief and could breathe again. But I still needed to go to the hospital as the EpiPen would only give me a short window of relief. I need to go to the hospital before the drugs wear off. Can one of you drive me? Why? No way, you can drive yourself.
Yeah, and on your way back, be sure to grab some more beer. And don't buy the cheap stuff, Kenny.
Something snapped in me then. All the years of putting up with their crap, all the insults, the jokes, the way they'd taken advantage of me, it all came crashing down in that moment. They didn't care about me. They never had. They just liked having someone around to kick when they were bored. It's funny how long you can put up with people treating you like crap before you realize you've had enough. I guess I just never saw myself as the kind of guy who would stand up for himself. My friends, if you could even call them that, knew that too, and they used it against me every chance they got. For the longest time, I let it slide. I let them get away with everything, telling myself it wasn't a big deal, that it was just how friends act. Hi, my name is Kenny, and this story is about how I finally grew a backbone and stood up for myself. Looking back now, I can see how toxic the whole thing was, how stupid I was to let it get as bad. And when I say bad, I mean life-threatening. They nearly killed me. It started years ago when I first met Ryan. He was funny, charismatic, the life of every party. He had this way of making you feel like you were special just by being around him. And I guess that's why I got sucked in. When he introduced me to his friend group, Ethan and Zoe, it felt like I'd found a place where I belonged. I was never the most confident guy, and being part of their group made me feel important, like I had value just by association. But there was a price. It began with small things. If we were all hanging out at Ryan's place, I'd always be the one who had to make the beer run. Ethan would throw me his keys with a smirk. Come on, Kenny, you don't mind, right? We'll pay for it next time. Oh, yeah, it's cool. I didn't mind, or at least that's what I told myself. I'd laugh it off, drive to the liquor store, and spend my own money because I didn't want to be the guy who complained. I mean, what was a few dollars between friends? Although I should have clued in since I was the only one that ever paid for beer when I was with them. Then there were the jokes. Every time we were out, Ryan would find some way to make me the punchline. Whoa there, Kenny. You better start hitting the gym, man. You look like a stiff breeze will knock you over. No wonder no women are interested in you. You look weaker than a kitten. It would bother me, of course, but they acted like it was just friendly ribbing. But after a while, I started to notice how often I was the target. And it wasn't just teasing, it was constant. They'd make fun of the way I dressed, the way I talked, even the fact that I didn't have a girlfriend. Zoe, who I'd had a crush on for years, would laugh and join in.
Kenny, you're too nice. Girls don't like nice guys. You need to man up and stop being such a pathetic pushover. I'm smaller than you, and even I could beat you up.
She's right, Kenny. And if Zoe doesn't think you're attractive, then no one ever will. I mean, Zoe pretty much likes all men.
Shut up, Ethan. That's not completely true. I just like all men that aren't losers.
But the worst part was, no matter how much it hurt, I didn't say anything. I thought if I just played along, eventually they'd respect me. Eventually, I'd be more than just the butt of their jokes. I thought I could prove myself somehow. And then I had the bright idea to start being assertive and to start standing up for myself in small ways. But that only made things worse. If I said no to something, like the time I refused to pay for everyone's food at the bar, Ryan would give me this look, like I'd personally offended him. Seriously, Kenny? You're gonna be that guy? After all the things we've done for you? Sorry, guys, but money is tight for me. And it really feels like I'm the only one that ever pays for stuff when we hang out.
Don't be such a cheapskate, Kenny. God, you are such a whiny shit, haha.
Every time I tried to assert myself, they'd find a way to make me feel guilty about it. Like I was betraying them by not going along with whatever they wanted. It was like being trapped in a constant loop. I hated how they treated me, but I was too scared of being alone to walk away. And deep down, I think they knew that. They knew they could push me around and I'd still show up the next day, ready to take more of their crap. But all of that changed the night they almost killed me. I've had a peanut allergy my entire life. It's severe, like hospital-level severe. I've been careful about it for as long as I can remember, always checking labels, making sure the people around me knew. Ryan, Ethan, and Zoe all knew about my allergy. I told them a million times, and I'd even had to use my EpiPen once when we were at a party, and I accidentally ate something that had been cross-contaminated with peanuts. They saw how serious it was. So, when we were at Ryan's house for a poker night, I didn't think much of it when Zoe handed me a cookie. I was about to take a bite when I smelled it. Peanuts. I pulled my hand back like I'd touched a hot stove, my heart already racing. Whoa, dude! This has peanuts in it!
Oh my God, Kenny, relax. It's just a little bit. You'll be fine.
Yeah, don't be so dramatic. You've got your EpiPen, right? Besides, the food we had earlier had peanuts in it as well, and you're fine. Don't be so dramatic. I stared at them in disbelief. It was like they didn't even care. They were sitting there, laughing, like this was all some kind of joke. Sometimes it takes a little bit for my body to react, but I suddenly felt my throat tightening. You guys know I could die, right? Dude, we're not trying to kill you. Stop being such a baby. My throat was closing up, and I rushed over to my backpack and pulled out my EpiPen and used it. I instantly felt relief and could breathe again. But I still needed to go to the hospital as the EpiPen would only give me a short window of relief. I need to go to the hospital before the drugs wear off. Can one of you drive me? Why? No way, you can drive yourself.
Yeah, and on your way back, be sure to grab some more beer. And don't buy the cheap stuff, Kenny.
Something snapped in me then. All the years of putting up with their crap, all the insults, the jokes, the way they'd taken advantage of me, it all came crashing down in that moment. They didn't care about me. They never had. They just liked having someone around to kick when they were bored. I raced out of there and to my car and drove as quickly as I could. Behind me, I could hear them laughing at me and calling me names like weakling and loser. Thankfully, I got to the hospital and they were able to stabilize me, but it was close. That night, I lay in bed, my mind racing. I realized how much of myself I'd sacrificed just to be part of their group. They'd chipped away at my self-worth for years, and I'd let them. But not anymore. I wasn't going to be their punching bag, not ever again. At the same time, though, I wanted to make them pay for all the pain they had inflicted on me over the years. Over the next few weeks, I started plotting my revenge. It wasn't enough to just walk away. I needed to make sure they regretted everything they'd ever done to me. I knew how they operated, knew all their secrets, and I was going to use that against them. First, I started with Ryan. He prided himself on being the cool guy, the guy everyone looked up to. But what most people didn't know was that he was terrified of being embarrassed. He had this reputation to maintain, and he couldn't handle anything that might tarnish it. So, I did some digging, and I found something that would ruin him. Ryan had been cheating on his girlfriend for months, something he bragged about when we were hanging out, thinking it made him look like some kind of player. His girlfriend, Emily, was sweet, way too good for him, and I had always felt bad that she didn't know the truth. So, I told her. I sent her screenshots of texts Ryan had sent me, bragging about his side chick. Emily dumped him that night in the most public way possible, at his birthday party, in front of all his friends. Ryan was humiliated, and it spread through our social circle like wildfire. He lost a lot of respect that night. Next, I turned my attention to Ethan. He worked at his dad's company, a cushy job he only got because of nepotism. Ethan liked to slack off, always showing up late and leaving early. He thought he could get away with anything because his dad was the boss. I knew one of his coworkers, a guy named Derek, who hated Ethan for always making him pick up the slack. I fed Derek some insider information, times Ethan had skipped out on important meetings, things he'd said about the company behind his dad's back. Derek used that info to report Ethan to his dad, and within a week, Ethan was demoted. He didn't lose his job, but he lost a lot of face. However, that wasn't really enough. He also had a gambling problem, something that had gotten worse over the years. I knew the guys he owed money to, and I anonymously tipped them off about where Ethan was one night. They showed up at his apartment, demanding the money he owed. Ethan had been avoiding them for months, and they beat him up pretty badly to make the point that they expected him to pay them what he owed. He was forced to sell his most prized possession, which was his car, to pay them off. As for Zoe, Well, I knew she had her own secrets. She'd been trash-talking some of her closest friends behind their backs for months, and I had the receipts, literal text messages. I sent those to the group chat, and one by one, her friends confronted her, calling her out for being a two-faced liar. She lost almost everyone, and even got into a few fistfights with some of the women that she had really insulted. However, the real kicker was that Emily, Ryan's ex-girlfriend, found out that Zoe was Ryan's side chick. None of us in the friend group knew about it, but Emily had done some digging and had discovered it, and Emily not only keyed Zoe's car, but she also attacked her with a baseball bat and broke both of her legs as well. When all was said and done, none of them wanted anything to do with me, or each other. I don't think that any of them really knew that I was behind the sudden misfortune that befell all of them, but I didn't care. It was enough that I made them suffer for all the torment they had thrown my way over the years. They never spoke to me again, and I was more than fine with that. For the first time in years, I felt strong, like I'd taken control of my life. I'd spent so long letting them walk all over me, but now I felt sure of myself and confident. After that, I joined a baseball league. I wasn't really good at it, but I found some real friends there. People who valued me for who I was, not what I could do for them, and they showed me what I had been missing. I think the best was whenever I would be hard on myself for not playing well. They would encourage me and cheer me on. One of the guys on my team even asked if he could introduce me to his sister. He told me that he thought I was a great guy and that he wanted his sister to meet someone awesome. I have no idea if we'll hit it off, but the fact that he thinks I'm good enough for his sister makes me feel special. It feels pretty good, and makes me regret all the years I'd wasted being afraid, being passive. Never again.